So you've probably seen the dead scientist headlines, but nobody's really covering what the dead scientist story actually is. A conspiracy theory that got a federal investigation. Here's how that whole list got built. So a retired Air Force general goes missing, leaves his phone, leaves his glasses at home, genuinely weird circumstances. But then the internet did what the internet does. It goes hunting. And then suddenly anyone who ever worked near aerospace or nuclear research and died within 4 years was a data point. And when you go looking for dots to connect, you will always find them. That's how conspiracy theories work. So who's the latest addition to this official list of assassinated government scientists? I'm glad you asked. A 34-year-old woman in Huntsville, Alabama, who was researching anti-gravity technology based on a theory that physicists stopped taking seriously over 100 years ago. She wasn't embedded in some classified program. She wasn't even a defense contractor. She ran a small private institute with her retired NASA dad called, now wait for it, the Institute for Exotic Science. And I know what you're thinking. What the fuck is exotic science? Brother, I asked the same thing. We're talking about things like anti-gravity devices, ether theory, gravity modification. This is the equivalent of flat earth science. There's a foundation in Germany that has offered 1 million euros to anybody who can demonstrate a working anti-gravity effect and reproducible experiment. Nobody has collected that check. But Congress is out here treating her death as a potential act of foreign espionage.
China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, they're all, on the suspect list, but there are a lot of, Eastern European countries and other countries that could be involved as well, or it could be a coincidence.
A former FBI agent went on record saying each case has a straightforward individual explanation. A violent neighbor, a jealous classmate, medical conditions that families confirm themselves. Those families have been publicly asking people to leave their loved ones out of this.
I just know he is rolling in his grave, knowing that his name is going around being involved in something like this.
And a journalist who tracks conspiracy theories called it family trauma being monetized for clicks. When the people closest to the victims are telling you there's nothing there, that's the receipt. So why is Keystone Kash Patel promising arrests on Fox News? Why is James Comer calling this a national security threat while doing nothing about actual oversight? Remember, these are the same people who laundered election conspiracy theories. Reason why is because the investigation isn't separate from the conspiracy theory. The investigation is the conspiracy theory doing exactly what it was supposed to do: generate headlines, eat the news cycle, and make sure that you're not looking at something else.
In fact, tonight, at least 13 high-ranking scientists and researchers have either died or have gone missing entirely, all of them tied to nuclear, defense, or space technology. Some of them even warned the public before their alleged suicides that they were not suicidal. First, you have Amy Eskridge, a young, rising researcher, reported dead by suicide in 2022. But before her death, she reportedly said something chilling.
I'm scared. And over the past 12 months, it's been like escalating, like more aggressive, more invasive, digging through my underwear drawer, and sexual threats over the past like 3 to 6 months. And now I'm like, I have to publish. I have to publish. It's only going to get worse until I publish. There's no way out of this up situation.
Exactly what she was talking about, we're not sure. Certainly had concerns, she said, about being watched. Even reportedly told friends and family she would never kill herself. And then she turned up dead. That was in 2022. Then you have Michael David Hicks, whose work was connected to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Hicks dies in 2023, and details surrounding his death remain limited publicly. But his name becomes part of a growing list tied to high-level research. In 2024, former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer Matthew James Sullivan is found dead. Interestingly, right before he could testify in a federal whistleblower case about UFOs. There's been no release for a cause of death there. Also in 2024, Frank Mywald, a senior engineer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, passed away. His work was on space instrumentation and detection of life on distant moons. His cause of death was never made public. No autopsy was ever performed. Another loss, another quiet headline. At this point, neither case is raising eyebrows nationally, right? But then we move to 2025, and that's where things get really bizarre. During the last year alone, we saw over a half-dozen disappearances and or deaths tied to our nuclear industry. In May, when Anthony Chavez, a researcher at the Los Alamos nuclear facility, went missing. Reports say he just simply walked off without any of his personal belongings. Then you have Monica Reza, who disappeared in June of that same year, 2025. Also worked at Los Alamos nuclear facility as a NASA senior aerospace engineer, helping create a special alloy for rockets. She went missing while out on a hike. 4 days later, Melissa Kaisis would also be reported missing, also in New Mexico, also reportedly got up and walked off without any personal belongings. Do you see the trend here? And just now today, we're learning about another death, the death of Joshua LeBlanc. This death taking place in Alabama. LeBlanc was a 29-year-old NASA engineer working on nuclear propulsion systems. He was found dead in his Tesla after a crash. He was burned beyond recognition, but his personal belongings were all left at home. Reports say his car sat in an airport hours earlier, but no trip had been planned. How about Steven Garcia, who vanished without a trace from New Mexico in August of that year? Garcia worked as a property custodian at a facility that manufactures more than 80% of the non-nuclear components for U.S. nuclear weapons. Nuno Loureiro, a top physicist at MIT, the director of the Plasma Science and Fusion Center, he was involved in the kind of research tied to advanced energy and weapons. He was shot and killed outside of his home. And by the way, no arrests have been made there. And again, that's all just 2025 alone. This year, though, it's gotten even stranger. And we're not even halfway through. First, in February, astronomer and astrophysicist Carl Grillmayer was shot and killed randomly outside of his home in Texas. Now, in that case, an arrest has been made, but the case marks another highly specialized mind taken suddenly and mysteriously. Then, days later, William Neal McCaslin goes missing again in New Mexico. His work reportedly centered around UFOs and classified space programs. The retired Air Force general, like many on this list, also vanished, leaving while out on a hike. But again, like so many others, he left all of his personal belongings behind. And to this day, he has not been found. And that brings us to today, where just days ago, another UFO researcher, maybe the most famous of all of them, David Wilcock, was found dead in Colorado from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Every day that I have on Earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing, and I've had a really rough week. That's kind of like every week, but somehow we keep on making it through all.
Somehow we keep on making it through all this, he said. One day, he says, every day is a blessing, and he's glad there's an investigation because scientists are going missing, and the next day he's found dead. Authorities claiming from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It's just another layer to a massive and growing mystery. A mystery that is going nowhere. And today, as we told you, Capitol Hill is now taking notice.
By all accounts, the United States has the superior nuclear program in the world. So all the usual suspects, China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, they're all, on the suspect list. But there are a lot of, Eastern European countries and other countries that could be involved as well.
Interesting there. That was Congressman James Comer speaking on the issue last night on Fox News. Right? He's outright accusing China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia of likely being involved, but he fails to mention a specific country with a long history of tactics like this. And by the way, who is that country? It's Israel. In March of this year, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israeli strikes had successfully eliminated top Iranian nuclear scientists involved in developing bombs meant to destroy Israel. In 2025, Joshua Zarka, Israel's ambassador to France, confirmed that Israeli operations had killed at least 14 physicists and engineers, which he described as the brains behind Iran's nuclear program. And also in 2025, following U.S. and Israeli airstrikes, Israeli military officials called the deaths of more than a dozen Iranian scientists a, quote, significant blow to Iran's ability to pursue weapons of mass destruction, using intelligence from Mossad to justify the timing of those attacks. See, this strategy is not new. When science becomes strategic, and it is in so many ways, the scientists themselves become targets. If you control the science, you control the future. And to call all of this just a coincidence means to ignore what is happening right in front of your eyes.
Anti-gravity, jet propulsion, disclosure, or fuel-efficient engines. All four of them will get you killed. All four of them. And the reason I know this is because this has been going on since the 60s and 70s. People coming up with ideas and getting patents for them, that will get you killed. Okay, it's not just the people in NASA. It's not just the people at JPL. It's people that have their own businesses. It doesn't matter. As soon as you start making waves, they'll approach you, especially if you file for a patent for any four of those things, right? Parts or anything. What they do is they say, hey, I seen your patent. I seen you requested a patent. Why don't you sell it to me? Why don't you sell it to us over here at the military? And what do most people do? They say no, because they know that if they sell it to the military is going to shelve it. We will never see it out in the public. They want the public to see it. They want to make money like that, right? So what happens? The same thing. The tale is as old as time. Well, first they're approached. they're threatened, okay? You still don't sell. Sometimes even if you do sell, they come in, they ransack your office, they ransack your lab, steal all your work, and you end up dead. There have been people since the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that have been making fuel-efficient engines, okay? They file for patents. These people are never seen again. Okay, I did a video on it a while back before any of this started. They're never seen again. The one guy had made it so efficient that all you needed was a drop of water to make your engine run. It didn't even have to be purified water, right? He filed for a patent. They tried to buy it from him. He said no, right? He's eating lunch at a restaurant with his brother. He goes running out of the restaurant screaming, "They poisoned me," before he collapses. Dies. End of story. Another guy did one, and I think his was just, it moved on its own, like it refueled itself somehow. Remember, energy, you just have to learn how to dictate it because it can't be destroyed or anything like that, right? He told them no. His lab was ransacked, all of his stuff was stolen, and he was found with a needle in his arm. Never touched drugs a day in his life, but I don't have to tell you that. This has been going on for years. Now, these new ones, yes, it's connected to anti-gravity and the jet propulsion, and now disclosure. David was on Ancient Aliens, and Nick pushing for disclosure for years, decades even. But something is going on right now that they're cleaning house.
These 11 scientists linked to sensitive programs in the U.S. have suddenly disappeared. Congress is now opening an investigation.
Well, I hope it's random. Pretty serious stuff. Hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it, but some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next.
On April 16, 2026, President Trump brought up a case that had been mostly circulating online, especially on Reddit, where it was often linked to conspiracy theories. A few days later, on April 20th, Congress announced it had referred the matter to several federal agencies, including the FBI and the National Security Agency. It is very unlikely this is a coincidence. Congress is very concerned and is making this a top priority from now on because we see it as a national security issue. James Comer, a Republican lawmaker and chair of the House Oversight Committee, said he initially thought it was some kind of crazy conspiracy theory before concluding that something much more sinister might be going on. NASA, which is connected to 3 of the cases, said it is cooperating with the appropriate agencies regarding the missing scientists, while adding that so far, nothing indicates a threat to national security. Since 2022, 11 American scientists working on sensitive programs, including nuclear and space research, have died or gone missing under circumstances described as unusual by several media outlets. Here's what is known about those 11 cases. Amy Eskridge, 34.
There's multiple parties looking at each other like, didn't we tell this bitch 3 years ago that we kill people for this? Is she not listening? What is she doing? She's still doing it? What? We told her we were going to kill her 3 years ago.
Amy died on June 11, 2022 in Alabama. A researcher in experimental propulsion, she had co-founded a research institute and claimed to be exploring concepts like anti-gravity. Her death was ruled a suicide by gunshot. Before her death, she reported harassments, threats, and possible sabotage attempts. Michael David Hicks, 59. A physicist at a NASA propulsion lab specializing in comets and asteroids, he died on July 30th, 2023. The cause of death was not made public. Frank Maywald, 61, a researcher at the same NASA lab, he died on July 4th, 2024 in Los Angeles with no official explanation. Anthony Chavez, 78, a former employee at Los Alamos National Laboratory, one of the most sensitive research centers in the U.S., he disappeared on May 4th, 2025 after leaving his home on foot. Despite extensive searches, he has still not been found. Monaco Jacinta Reza, 60, an aerospace engineer at the same NASA lab, she disappeared on June 22nd, 2025 while hiking in California. She was walking with someone, but stepped about 30 feet away and was never seen again. Melissa Casays, 53. 4 days later, on June 26, 2025, this administrative assistant at Los Alamos disappeared without a trace. She was last seen near a highway without her phone or personal belongings. Stephen Garcia, 48. On August 28, 2025, he disappeared after leaving his home in Albuquerque. He worked at a site focused on nuclear weapons components. Police said at the time he was armed and could be a danger to himself, but he has not been found. Jason Thomas, 45. A deputy director in chemical biology, he went missing on December 12, 2025. His body was found 3 months later on March 17, 2026 in a lake in Massachusetts. His cause of death has not been officially determined. Nuno Laureano, 48. A nuclear physicist at MIT, he died from a gunshot wound on December 16, 2025. Early findings suggest he was shot at home after a dispute with another scientist. Carl Grillmeyer, 67. an astrophysicist, he was shot and killed outside his home on February 16, 2026. While no clear motive was established, a suspect was arrested the same day for car theft and later linked to the killing. The two men did not know each other, but the suspect had previously been arrested for entering Grillmare's property with a rifle. William Neal McCaslin, 68. On February 26, 2026, the retired Air Force general disappeared in New Mexico. Some personal items were found at his home, but others, including his revolver, are missing. His name had previously come up in discussions about UFOs after WikiLeaks documents mentioned his role in sensitive programs. His disappearance, which came days after Trump announced the declassification of UFO-related documents, remains unexplained. According to Comer, several of these individuals were at the forefront, especially in nuclear research. We know many countries around the world would like access to our expertise and capabilities. However, some families question whether the cases are connected. Amy Eskridge's father said her death was not linked, adding, "People need to understand that scientists die too." McCaslin's family also rejects any connection. His wife said, "He retired 13 years ago. It seems unlikely he was kidnapped for secrets that are old." Hicks's daughter said there is no logical reason to connect her father to any federal investigation. Only a friend of Anthony Chavez welcomed the renewed attention, saying it's about time. In most cases, the causes of death or the circumstances of disappearances remain unclear. In others, police investigations have provided partial explanations, as with Laureano and Grillmare. James Walkinshaw, a Democratic lawmaker on the same committee, said an investigation is justified, but added he is not convinced there is a coordinated motive behind the cases. For now, no official evidence confirms a link between all of the incidents, and the investigation is just beginning. Caroline Leavitt said on X that everything will be done to identify any possible similarities.